What's up, everyone? I'm here to go for an interview with Rock Media UK. Thank you very much for having me today. I'll be talking about The Dark, the new record Hostile Gospel, and a bunch of goodness regarding the future and what's coming up next. Well, The Dark was founded back in the day in Los Angeles. I believe it was around 2013, 14, something like that. And it happened because I got actually discovered by Johnny Coffin, who is the owner at Coffin Case in Los Angeles. And after that, we also became very good friends. He started managing the band from start, and he booked us a show at Bar Sinister in Hollywood, and that's actually where we had our first show. And originally we were a 5-piece band. We also used to have a keyboardist, and our sound was much more industrial and gritty, with tones of very harsh electronic. It was also pretty heavy, more screaming parts, overall much more old school industrial. And further on, I relocated to Berlin in Germany to write the first record, Live, Create, Destroy, and that's 2018. And the reason why I moved to Berlin was literally because I was seeking new inspiration to write some new material at that point. I wanted The Dark to sound slightly more alternative, with more guitar riffs and cool shit. And after that, I decided to move to Brighton, UK. And that's where I found my actual band members, Sam, bassist, and Oscar on the drums. Our main influences for The Dark, I'd say, come from 90s rock and grunge, but also a little bit of metal. I'm definitely not a purist guy when it comes to genre. Actually, I like to play with definition of genre throughout different records. For instance, Hostile Gospel sounds much more like a rock record compared to the first album, Live, Create, Destroy, which sounded more alternative. And next record, who knows, maybe I do know now, but I'm not going to tell you yet. Artist wise, I've always been a huge fan of all rock bands from the 90s wave, especially from Los Angeles. And here's a cat. Yeah, Hostile Gospel dropped on October 31st on Halloween. I'm very, very excited about coming out, releasing the new album on Halloween, because I have never done it before, and I'm aware that lots of other people release their records on Halloween. Nevertheless, we got a great response from all our fans. We got new fans also appreciating our music, and it made me very, very happy. The title, Hostile Gospel, it's something that again reflects the status of the world at these days. What inspired me to come up with this title is so much outrage, so much hate that you just can clearly see everywhere on social media, just watching the news, just literally walking down the street. Each one of us has something that they believe firmly into, and that's a very cool thing, because each one of us should be entitled to have their own ideas, their own beliefs, and their own opinions, but you can't be a dick about that. You can't spread hate just because you believe that something is right, so everything else is wrong. Each one of us has the freedom to think and to say whatever they want, until that's interfering with everyone else's lives. and it can't be forced. No matter how good a message is, it can never be forced. That's like also the antithesis of what rock and roll is, because rock and roll is freedom. So, well, if you have never seen The Dark live, I can definitely tell you one thing that I feel like sums it all up, which is I will gladly die on stage, which means every time I go on stage, I give 100% of myself for the fans, for the new people, that paid a ticket to come see us, or even like for the people that weren't expecting to see us. It really doesn't matter. What really matters is the connection that is being created when I go on stage and when The Dark goes on stage. It's a non-stop of us relating to our audience and getting so much love back from everyone, and that's the power and energy of music in general, not just the dark music obviously. It's the idea of a bunch of people in a room connecting and forgetting about life. It is something so intense that goes beyond, like, you know, the concept of theater. Even if I actually took like lots of like theater tricks, because I used to do that back in the day, actually, like when I was a teenager. I used to act in like theater, but what I firmly believe is that if you are an artist and you go on stage, you have to give 100% of yourself to your audience, because people paid a ticket to see you and you gotta honor that. And because that's the whole point of going on stage. It's like to show something that people haven't seen before, the way that you are presenting it, and that's the power of music. Well, this is a very appropriate question, since I'm in the studio where everything is being created. I am at the detuned Brighton quarters, and this is the board that I work on daily. It's a Steven Slate board. It's a new generation console that is all digital but integrates all the plugins in the world. Is like touchscreen. I do like actually to use lots of analog sound, so the plugins that I use are actually most of them like replicas, very great replicas of consoles or analog outboard gear that you can find like in every studio in the world. What we use to make records is not very far away from what we use on stage as well. Just to simplify things, we go on stage like pretty much with line 6 for guitar, and then most of the times the bass goes straight into the PA. It just makes things easier for the house sound guy, and technology these days allows you to basically put everything that you have here in the studio in one little box, and then you find all the sounds basically you use on the record. I also do really love to play with synths and electronic, and over there is the Korg mini log, and then there is a bunch of other synthesizers that I do have on a plugin, and I like to use Korg, I like to use Roland. I really love to put like effects and pedals additionally to synths. I also really love to distort synth sounds. I know it's not a very mainstream thing to do, but I honestly couldn't care less. I really like it. So pretty much what you hear live when you go to the Dark show is like the result of months of work at the studio, and then what we do is like transferring the sounds into our pedal boards, and we can recall them all the time. This allows us actually to have very short sound checks and still be like ready to perform. We could even skip a sound check probably, like it wouldn't really matter, especially when we have our own sound guy. Other gear wise, I use like GBL speakers here in the studio. I have the Aventon CLA10. That's for like reference amplifying monitoring, and then the Raven, as I previously mentioned. This is like my studio amp, guitar amp. This little thing here, it's a new generation amp by Synergy, which is this company in Los Angeles. This is the actually authorized by Bogner. It's one of my favorite amps. It's got valves in it, and like I said, it was authorized by Bogner, so like Synergy amp actually work with Bogner to deliver the same sound that you will get from a big amp into like this little box that you can pack in a suitcase or like a backpack and just like go around like that, and you can definitely tour with this. The sound is incredible, it's super crunchy, you can definitely feel the balls, so that's really great. I got honestly so much gear that right now it's really hard for me to put all the information together. But definitely these are the main pieces that I use to build our mixes and our songs and our live sound. Honestly, having a seated audience wasn't a problem at all, because the crowd was so great that it didn't really matter if like they were all seated. It was a very warm crowd, and I guess everyone was very hungry, us included, because we haven't played the show in a year, and you know, people didn't go to see a show for like a very long time. So it was a great, exciting moment for everyone, us included. So it was really like not a problem to play in front of a seated audience. If actually someone would tell me that for the rest of my life I will have to play shows in front of a seated audience and that will be the only way that we can keep music going, I would say yes to that, because the most important thing is that, especially in the moment like now, the things that we love are not being taken away, and live music definitely is a big one for lots of people, musicians included. So that was actually a great show, and I had a hell of a time, and I'm ready to do it again anytime we can. No, I have never started to be creative. I've actually always been very creative, like I say, and since I was a kid, and I had a passion for music since I was very young. I'd say like I was 7 and I started playing the piano. Music is something that has always mattered somehow in my family. My grandmother plays the piano, still these days play pretty well. My father used to be a jazz piano player, and we've always listened to lots of music in the house, so I guess that was easy for me to take the step. So I started playing the piano, going to lessons, and I've been doing that for like 10 years. And then I found out that I really loved playing the guitar, so I started playing the guitar as well. How did I end up in Brighton? Well, that's a very long story. So from Los Angeles to Brighton, like I said before, I took like a few steps. The main reason why I left Los Angeles is that honestly it was slowly turning into something that I didn't like much anymore, even if I still love to go to Los Angeles. But Los Angeles became a very different place since when I first moved over there, and even before, when I used to visit and like be there like at least 6 months a year. And plus, like honestly, like prices are really high. It's very expensive to live in LA right now, and being a musician especially during a pandemic, I guess. And so I decided to move, and I relocated to Berlin to write the first record, Live, Create, Destroy. And then I ended up in Brighton. It's weird because I thought I've actually never been to Brighton before, but then I did, because when I was 14 I was in Brighton for one day on a trip. So I actually remember there was a very nice beach and the pier, but that's about it. And then I've heard that Brighton has one of the best music scenes in England, and I was at a point, see, like I really liked to be in Berlin, but in order to be in Berlin for a very long time, you gotta learn German very, very well. And that wasn't really my priority at the time in my life. I just wanted to make music. I really didn't have the time and the energy, even if I do love learning new languages. And so the choice was basically either moving to the only English-speaking country around here, which is England, or moving back to the United States. And I chose a new experience. I chose to embrace a new experience and moving to Brighton. And so I packed up my car in Berlin and drove all the way to Brighton. And I'm actually very happy about my choice. Everyone is really, really nice around here. There's a very nice sense of community, especially in the music scene. There's lots of venues, lots of opportunities for musicians in general, just being able to be musicians. There's a music school. This is where I also started my recording studio and mixing business, DT and Brighton production. And all I can say is really like I'm happy here, and it feels like being home, and I think I'm gonna be here for a very, very long time. Yeah, I guess my favorite movie is Pulp Fiction by Tarantino. I remember when it came out, I was completely blown away. I feel like that's really the king of movies. It doesn't get any better than that. I would say one of my favorite albums, top three, I'd say Mechanical Animal by Marilyn Manson, and then Downward Spiral by 9 Inch Nails, and then why not a nice like Diamond Dogs by Bowie. It's kind of hard to answer to that question because I would never want to get stuck in a lift ever, because I will get so claustrophobic that I feel like I will probably pass out. I guess I wouldn't mind getting stuck in a lift with my cats because I really love them, and somehow I could just like sit there and play with them until someone comes in and rescue me. I definitely would love to go back to when Nirvana used to tour the world. Unfortunately, I've never been able to see one of their shows, and that's definitely something that I wish I would have been there for. So definitely a Nirvana show. The first album I've ever bought was, I believe, Killers by Iron Maiden. Great fucking album.